Asparagus is one of my favorite vegetables, and not only is it packed with antioxidants like vitamin C, but it's really easy to make into so many different dishes. I want to provide a few tips for when you're looking to select the best bunch of asparagus. So a couple things. You want to make sure that it's very firm. So you can take one out and you can kind of look at it as long as it's not wilting or kind of falling to the side. Another tip is looking at the size. It doesn't matter if they're a little bit thinner or a little bit thicker. The key is really consistency and making sure the stalks in the bunch are pretty much the same size, and that will help for consistency when cooking. Not only are they delicious, they're super easy to cook. I'm making shaved asparagus salad, and this salad is great because it's done from start to finish in less than 10 minutes. And it's also really nice because it's really refreshing. You don't have to cook the asparagus. And one tip that I like to give is you can just take a knife and kind of cut the bottom. It's more of like that woodier part. So that's not as, it's not as tasty. So that's the part that we're going to discard. But one fun thing you can do is just kind of snap it. But today we're going to do a little bit different. And this is nice because, again, we're adding in just like different shapes, different textures. You can see I'm just using a typical vegetable peeler and shredding it. Now that we're done shaving the asparagus, I'm going to move this stuff out of the way and make a little bit of room so I can make my dressing. This dressing is really nice because you're using just a few ingredients and probably ones that you might already have in your house. So you can either use fresh lemon, which is what I'm using today, but if you have lemon juice in your fridge, you could use that as well. And then you really only need a couple more ingredients. So Dijon mustard and then honey. If you like a little bit more on the sweeter side, add a little bit more honey. If you like more of that mustardy flavor or a little bit more of kind of that citrus flavor, you can kind of just make it exactly as you would because this is your recipe. Now that we have the lemon juice, the Dijon mustard, and the honey already combined, this is what I'm going to use, just some olive oil. Okay, there we go. So you can see now I'm going real slowly and whisking at the same time. And you can pause if you need to, especially if you need to kind of like get in and whisk it a little bit harder. Again, you want to make sure that it's completely mixing together. I'm gonna do just a little bit more. And not only is the olive oil adding some healthy fats, but it's making kind of like that vinaigrette too. So this could be great. We're using it on the shaved asparagus salad, but if you wanted to make like a simple green salad or really just use this dressing on any salad, it would be really tasty. And you can always kind of tailor it to your liking. So if you want to add a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, really whatever herbs or spices, you can kind of take this and even use it for another recipe as well. Some tongs. And you want to have enough dressing to kind of coat it. And so it's okay if you start with a little bit, just kind of mix it around. You don't want it to be too heavy because this is going to be like a light, refreshing, like perfect for spring or summer salad. But you do want to make sure that you have enough asparagus that it will get coated. Okay, so I think this will be good. And again, if you really wanted to kind of get all in, if you have kids with you, let them use their hands. It's totally fine. Or you can use a tong, spoon, or whatever you have. So now that this is dressed, we're actually going to add a few more toppings to add just a little bit more texture, a little bit more flavor. And then we're always looking to try and, we eat with our eyes, so adding some pops of color really makes it a little bit more enjoyable when you're looking at it, and hopefully a little bit more enjoyable when you're eating it too. So now that our salad is dressed, we're going to add some toppings on. Again, this is going to provide a little bit more texture because from our chopped pistachios, that's going to be a little bit of crunch. I have some nice bright green fresh chives. So even though it's green, it's giving me a little bit of a different green. So this is going to be a little bit of pop of color. And of course, all of these are going to add some flavor. And then we're going to finish it off with some fresh shredded Parmesan cheese. And you can see that salad really is as simple as that. I'm gonna be making a blue cheese dip with vegetable dunkers. And so this is perfect. It's a nice way to kind of get in more vegetables because instead of using like chips or crackers, which you could absolutely serve with this dip, you can actually use vegetables as kind of those dunkers to really get that nice blue cheese dip flavor. So this is super easy. I'm just really going to mix a few ingredients together. And you can either do this in a bowl like I'm gonna do with either like a spoon or a fork, or if you wanted to, you could always use like a food processor if you wanted to make it just a little bit quicker, or if you like it a little bit smoother. I don't mind having some of those blue cheese chunks in there, so I think this is going to be perfect. Okay, So you want to use a little bit of the plain non-fat Greek yogurt, and this is a nice base for really any type of dip because it's similar to like that texture of any dip that you might buy that's pre-made. But because it's that non-fat Greek yogurt, you're not getting a ton of fat in it, and you're also getting a nice source of protein as well as calcium. So this is a great way to kind of make those dips a little bit healthier. So I have that. I'm going to add a little bit of cream cheese too. Okay. I'm gonna add maybe just about another one of those spoonfuls. There we go. And you could, depending on, if you love cream cheese, you could add a little bit more. If you're not too fond of it, you really could use just the Greek yogurt if you wanted to, but this is going to kind of enhance that flavor and make it a little bit more creamy. And then from there, I have some ingredients that I've kind of measured out already. So I have some minced garlic, and this is just raw. If you had roasted garlic, or if you don't love the flavor of raw garlic, you could roast it, you could saute it. Again, that's just adding kind of a different flavor element, but again, you do whatever works for you and your family when you're making it at home. You can either do some regular bacon, some turkey bacon, kind of saute those up. You can even use bacon bits just to make it a little bit easier. And just mix that all together. And then just as a way to kind of brighten it up, and this is a tip that I like to add. So if you're looking to, reduce the amount of salt, if you're just kind of watching your sodium intake, using like a citrus, like a lemon juice or even the lemon zest, it's going to add kind of that burst of flavor that you're looking for that typically you get from usually adding salt, but you don't always have to add the salt. So usually what I say is if you're looking to follow more of a heart-healthy diet, start with a little bit of lemon zest, lemon juice, anything kind of that citrus. Taste it, and then if you need to add a little bit of salt, you can always add a touch or really whatever the recipe needs. And so again, this is going to be really that nice creamy dip that we're looking for, using that base of that protein-packed non-fat Greek yogurt, and then again pairing it with whatever you want. But this is great to again encourage your kids to eat some vegetables, encourage yourself to eat some vegetables. I just blanched some asparagus. You could saute it, you could eat it raw if you wanted to as well, and then some peppers, but this really would go well with carrots or cucumbers or really any type of fresh vegetable to give you really that nice flavor and that nice kind of crunch to go with it. And again, if you wanted to pair this with crackers or chips as well, this would be a nice kind of complement to those crunchy snacks. Today we're making asparagus with a garlicky lemon butter sauce. And so this is kind of a simpler take on more of that fancy, sometimes intimidating hollandaise sauce, but it's going to be even easier to make with less ingredients. So to make the sauce, we're going to use a little bit different ingredients, as I mentioned, from the traditional hollandaise sauce. So I am going to start, I have rice vinegar here. Now, if you don't have rice vinegar, but you have a little bit of extra white wine from maybe dinner last night or what you're having tonight, that will work too. And so next I'm going to add in about half a cup of butter, and you do want this to be softened because we're going to mix it up. So you don't want to take it right out of the fridge, you want to let it sit on the counter until it is room temperature. To that we're going to add just a few more ingredients. So I have some minced garlic. There we go. And then I'm also going to add some softened butter. And you do want to make sure for this recipe that it is softened because we're mixing it. You really don't want that butter right out of the fridge being super cold. You want it to be to that room temperature. To that, I'm going to add just a couple turns of some cracked black pepper. And then I'm also going to add just a touch of salt as well. Okay, so now I'm going to just use my immersion blender, it might be loud for a minute, and blend all of these ingredients together. There we go, ingredients together. And you could use a food processor. Immersion blenders are nice because you don't have to have like a ton of liquid to kind of make it mix together. Okay, so now that the sauce is all blended together, we are actually going to move on and blanch our asparagus. And so all I'm gonna do is as much asparagus that will kind of fit in the pan, so we're definitely not gonna do all this at once. If you're doing a larger recipe like the amount that I have here, you're going to want to do this in bunches. And since I'm placing it in boiling water, I'm actually just going to use tongs just to make sure that I don't burn myself. So I'm just going to put in some asparagus. And so blanching is really, I have the water that's already boiling, and it's really, I'm going to wait until the water comes back up to a boil, and then that's really when that timer starts for me. So I'm going to wait about a minute to two after it goes in, and during the time, if you haven't already, I like to prep my ice bath beforehand because again, this process is so quick. I want to be able to take out my asparagus, put it right in the ice bath because we want it to stop cooking immediately, and that's what this ice bath will do. I'm actually going to take it out, and if you have a colander, if you want to use that, you could totally use that as well. And then you just want to make sure that you get it out quickly, and that's another reason why you don't want to do too much at one time, because you really do want to stop that cooking as soon as you take it out. Okay, so now that the asparagus has cooled down, I'm going to plate it. There we go. Just make sure you have any ice in there, and if that happens, that's okay. Just kind of push it back off. And now you'll see, as I mentioned, this asparagus is a nice, really bright green color. Make sure I get the last few that are hiding at the bottom. There we go. And then from here, I'm just going to put a little bit of this easy hollandaise, this kind of garlicky butter sauce right over top. And you can just kind of drizzle it on. And there you go. You have your asparagus with garlicky lemon butter sauce.